друзі, можемо почати нашу зустріч. У нас сьогодні зустріч з фотографом Андреасом Веннінґером з Австрії, який проживає у Львові. Ми далі будемо спілкуватися англійською мовою. Я сподіваюся, для всіх буде зрозуміло. В разі, якщо будуть якісь питання, не соромтеся перебивати. І думаю, можемо починати. Okay, so we can start, yeah. Nice to meet you, Andreas. Can you tell us like a few words about yourself, like your CV?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Firstly, I want to thank you all for inviting me this evening to have a small presentation on my book catalog about the Cold Flowers album I did. And I'm really glad to be here, being here. It's not the first time. The first time I came here in official mission, and now as a private photographer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. I will tell you about me a few words. People should understand why I'm here for so long time. I came to Lviv in October 2000. So I live here in Lviv more than 20 years, 21 years. On 9th of October, it will be the jubilee anniversary. And I started here, I took over the Austrian-Ukrainian Cooperation Office for Science Education and Cultural Affairs. It's located at the National Ivan Franko University, the main building. So I work here, I live here. Of course, I travel a lot of times a year to Austria, to Vienna, where I come from. I studied in Austria, in Vienna, but now I work here and I plan to stay here. It's my second hometown. And that's the reason why I started photography also here during the pandemic. But I will tell about this a little bit later. Yeah, the reason why we came here is my macro photography and the catalog that I want to present today. It's produced here in Ukraine, and of course it's a simple book. It's a hardcover we did. It contains 42 of my Cold Flowers photography. It's my portfolio, a part of my portfolio. I selected the best of my macro photography. I started here when the pandemic happened in March 2020. Of course, it was a big change for all of us when the pandemic happened. It was like an emergency stop for me as well, because we changed a lot. We started to establish our home offices. We bought webcams, microphones, windscreens. So a lot of things happened. And from one day to another, there was also time for doing other things in leisure. And I always tried to start with photography more professional. And first, when in the first weeks in March, in quarantine, I started doing photographs from my balcony. I tried to capture the birds. 2 weeks, the blackbirds, the pigeons, and others. But after 2 weeks, I knew them personally, almost all the birds coming to my balcony. And then I continued with macro photography. I ordered macro lenses on the internet, and then I started in the green areas, in the courtyard, between my apartment and home office in Zaritsky Street, where I've been walking every day a couple of hours. And because in the beginning the parks were closed as well in Lviv. The first months we were not allowed to enter the parks, the Park Kultury or Avsтрійський park. So, and we thought after 3 weeks everything will be gone, coronavirus will be gone, and we will be back to the usual life. But nothing. It took a long time. Then I started 3 weeks later, in the end of March, April, walking with my macro box in Zaritsky Street and Park Kulturi early morning, and I started taking pictures of the flowers I found. No, there were not a lot. Some daisies, dandelions. You know, in March in Park Kulturi, it's cold. It's not so. It's not a botanical garden.
And can you tell why did you decide to go into macro photography like in that period? Because you have plenty of options. Yeah, you can select like you could took a telelens and to be a spy to see everything from your window. Yeah, but
there is not a lot of things to see from my window. I tried the birds, and I opened a Facebook group on bird watching, a group on Facebook with my friends. It was interesting for a couple of weeks, but then it became boring because of the birds, because there's not a big selection of birds in Lviv. And macro photography, it was new for me. I never did it before. It was a new experience. And at the same time, because also of pandemic, I had time to pass courses, online courses on editing pictures, Photoshop, Adobe Lightroom. So that's also a big change in my life, because for me, the creative process is not only the photography, it's also the editing of pictures. And that was a very important part. In the beginning, I did not edit pictures so much, but after a couple of weeks, I used to edit all of them. And that's very important to know that for this creative process, editing for me is very, very important. And and then in April and in May, the climate changed in Lviv also. It became warmer every day, and the flowers grew, and there are a lot of different plants also in the Park Kulturi, elderbush, and a lot of different plants. And it became very interesting for me to watch and to observe the plants who nobody recognizes usually, growing or withering. And sometimes I went back to the same places, same flowers, a couple of days every morning to observe them and to watch the flowers, how they grow and how they change their appearance. And then I thought, why do we photograph usually only the big stars like tulips or orchids or the lilies? You can find them everywhere. And then I focused on the ordinary ones who nobody sees. Nobody can see. And we pass them every day a couple of times, but we do not recognize the beauty beside our houses and in the green yards, courtyards. And then I focused on that, and I tried to make the show the ordinary as extraordinary. And I wanted to make stars of them. I wanted to show the small and ordinary simple plants as stars. And that's hopefully that was my aim. And a couple of weeks later, when I had the possibility to visit the botanical garden in Lviv. And then I went through the whole day. I took a lot of pictures, also from the very popular, wonderful plants there, and also the cactuses and lilies and the famous ones. But coming back home, I thought that it's much more interesting to focus on the simple ones. Because also on internet you will find the orchids, millions of them, and tulips and roses, different kinds and all colors. So that's the reason why I continued with the simple ones. But also then when I traveled back to Vienna, I continued there, and I continue now. I cannot stop. It's so interesting for me that I plan to produce also a second catalog. We will change a little bit. Yes, a few words to the catalog as well. There is no text included. There is only in the end a postface, a small postface about the work I describe, and the usual about the author. That's everything. That's all. There's nothing else. It's only about pictures, and we will try maybe in the second edition. And my great help is here. Oleg Diachok, he's my manager for the catalog. I will change two things, I guess. Maybe I will put in the end. I will put an index, because it's. For me, it was surprising that the people do not. Of course, they watch the pictures and are amazed about the pictures, but a lot of people ask me, well, what kind of flower is that, please? And I do not know, because I have nothing to do with botanics. I never knew about the flowers, anything. So, and now I have to answer, and not only in German, in English, and I will put it also in Latin language in the index, so they will be satisfied.
Yeah, so it was an intentional like a step to make it more about the visual part, of the flowers, not about the context of what they are. So can you tell us about more about like what did attract you in doing that type of work, like that? Like as we talked to you before, that there are lots of encyclopedias where you can see all those flowers, but you were trying to find another point of vision, like what you can see from them,
Yes, as I told, I tried to discover and to explore the beauty of these flowers we do not see usually. And this process of photographing, taking the pictures and editing, this creative process became an obsession for me. So I think that's what I want to show people those flowers through my eyes, of course. I want to make them more prominent, popular, and I want to show people the environment also we live in, and the beauty. And I think it's very important to know about this, and then it's easier to understand why we should protect our environment close to us also, not only the rainforest in Brazil, but we should protect the environment and ecology in our city we live, next to our house, the next garden, and the courtyard and the parks, of course. We do a lot of projects also with Diana, our colleagues in ecology in Lviv. So that's very important. And I think about the beauty, we will be able to lead people to take care more about the environment. That's one reason, of course. And the second is the creative process. That's very important for me. And of course, I had more time during this pandemic, and I hope I will have time in future as well to continue this work here and in Vienna as well.
Okay, and what about your approach to photography? Because usually we can see that people are shooting something action, to see something is happening there, and you are moving more towards something that is still. Is it your inner response to the rush world, to the times we are living in, that you wanted to calm everything down, or you have something else?
Of course it is. Of course it is. And it's for me, it's a medium of creativity. Photography, it's not only a medium of recording a moment of time, like in travel photography. That's I think it's an instrument to doing creative work, photography and editing as well. And I want to, photography is an instrument to show things and people maybe, and processes happening through the eyes of the photographer. Not only a documentary, but to give them a special spirit. And that's, I think that's the medium for me. And I will tell you frankly that I'm not a person who is patient is not my quality. Patience, I need results very quickly, and I need the results very quickly. And in photography, you get the results more quickly than an author writing a book, for example.
Or
so
painter,
so I think photography fits mostly to me and to my style of working and living. I started photography as a lot of people in Austria in a course of black and white photography, and as a 15-year-old guy, and we started developing our black and white pictures on paper in dark rooms. That was the beginning. Then after school, I started as a lithographer in Austria before studying. Then I studied history, and at the same time I started at the Academy of Fine Arts with painting and graphics, 5 years. But then my career took another way. And I worked at the university as historian, and then I started applied for the job here, and now I work for the diplomatic staff in Austrian diplomatic staff here in Lviv. And only the pandemic opened me newly the doors to do some art work or fine art photography.
So there was a seed planted previously, that waited its time to grow. Okay, and how do you manage to combine like your private life and your artworks and your work in general? It's
that's not so easy. It of course, pandemic helped me because it's easier for me to save some time for photography from my home office. That's easier, and the family, that needed time. No, it's not so easy, because to understand that the father or husband takes his time in the park taking pictures of daisies. So that was not, my wife was not that happy in the beginning, but hopefully now she understands a little bit more why I spent hours by hours and not walking through the park. I was rubbing on my legs and hands, because if you want to take macros, you have to lay down in the early morning. And then I came back dirty. So it was very, very big surprise for my wife. My new hobby, as she told children, that was my new hobby. And it was a little bit irritating for her. But now I think it's easy. It's easier, no, I hope I will find time to continue. And Lviv is a wonderful place for photography, as I think, especially for that, because we have a lot of parks, wonderful green areas in the city center, a wonderful botanical garden. And everything can be done also on foot. I do not have any car. It might have been easier with a car during the pandemic to travel out in the Carpathian Mountains or elsewhere, to Shatsk or elsewhere, but I do not have any car, and so I have used the opportunities in the city center to walk around. But we have a lot of wonderful options and places to go.
And how did you, what was the main point for your inspiration? Like, did you saw the works of some other artists maybe, or maybe you were just reviewing what you see, or is it just an inner impulse?
I started very later to visit homepages from other photographers, because in the beginning, I do not want to get into a situation copying someone else. That's always the big danger. If you look around too much, you start copying and taking over styles and approaches. So I do not want to do that. The worst case would be if I would imagine something similar in my work. So I do not want to do that. And now, of course, I'm in contact with other photographers worldwide, because it was interesting that after posting on my flowers on social media, I got responses and orders also, and now I sent catalogs to Osaka, Canberra, Los Angeles, and other cities. It was really a surprise for me. And after a couple of months, I got an invitation of my friend Bohdan Ticholos to have an exhibition in Dim Franco in here in Lviv. And it will be on Friday at 4 p.m. with my original flowers, and everyone who has time is invited to come there. And I will have a presentation then in German, Ukrainian language. And for this exhibition, I prepared this catalog as well up front, because I wanted to have something printed. And I like, and the process of preparing this catalog was very important for me. I learned a lot, and it was a new experience for me. And a lot of decisions have to be made, because about the quality of paper, about the selection of the photographs, and then how to combine them, and about the text, what to write, what not to write. So it was not that easy than I thought. It was a long process, but I had a great help with Oleg sitting here. He's a professional and expert, not only in binding, also in managing, and he had a lot of ideas in design, also the embossing with white color, that was his idea, and
maybe we can give it to the public.
Yeah, so of course, and also the wrapper, the color wrapper was his idea, and he managed the process of printing in Kharkiv. We printed 100 pieces. We printed in Kharkiv. And he organized everything, and I thank you very much. Maybe you want to tell a few words, two sentences, 3 sentences about that work, because it was not that easy to do that from here, especially for me as a foreigner. Maybe you tell us a few words.
Можна українською?
Так, можна.
Так.
З Андреасом ми давно співпрацюємо з керівником операційного бюро фотографії. Він завжди підтримував різні проекти перекладацькі, різних авторів. А сьогодні він сам як автор. Я дуже вітаю, що ваша книжка вийшла. І це був такий цікавий досвід, тому що подвійна відповідальність. Тому що не хотілося це, якраз хотілося найкраще все зробити. Були різні пропозиції. Я спочатку зробив декілька примірників вручну. Андреас дуже вимогливий щодо кольору. Це було декілька проб різних друкарнях. І дуже важко невеликі наклади в Україні надрукувати хороші якості.
Так, зазвичай це такий довгий процес, тобто воно не виходить так, що ти просто відправив на друк, а потім вже все отримав партію. Тобто, це зазвичай декілька ітерацій, тому класно, що у вас такий досвід.
Я бажаю вам нових каталогів, нових тем.
Окей, добре, дякую дуже.
He always finds anything what can be better. That's very, very interesting. I'm satisfied, but he's not. We can change that, we will change that, maybe we will improve the paper quality. So that's very interesting to follow for me, because he's really a professional in these things. And for me it's also important. Maybe you can ask why he spent a lot of money of producing this book, when all people can find his flowers on social media accounts, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on his homepage. But I need something printed to have also, and the whole process of compiling a photography project is very, very exciting. Was very exciting for me, and now I can go through. I need it maybe for the exhibition and as a present for family members, colleagues. So I think it was a good idea to produce a book as well. And I produced also a homepage in this time, because I never had a homepage before. And I started to study this program WordPress in the evenings and on weekends. It's also a terrible work and incredible. But I got help from another guy here in Lviv who helped me also in English. And now it is ready. And there is an online version, a PDF file of this catalog available. And for all who would like to receive the online PDF version of this catalog, I will be able to send the link. If you contact me through my contact form on my homepage, the address is World Wide Web, www.lvivart.photography. Avart is for Andreas Wennінґер art.photography. Then you will find my homepage. You will find all my selected cold flowers and other pictures I started, and then I will send you the link if you contact me, or you can find the link directly on the page of exhibitions. There is a link and you can download the whole catalog also, the PDF file.
And why did you call it cold flowers?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because it's a very simple and technical thing. When I started editing the pictures, I organized different folders on my desktop and before editing, and then I put the originals in one folder. Then I made some folders for the flowers where I reduced the saturation maybe, or I cropped them all in quadrats, in squares. And then the last folder was that called Cold Flowers, where I reduced the saturation and I changed the temperature to cold colors. So that was the folder Cold Flowers. And then I kept this folder Cold Flowers and I collected all of them. And all flowers you find, they are cold flowers, because in all of them I reduced the saturation and the temperature of colors. They are different from the originals, because as I saw them through my eyes, I saw them as cold flowers. Of course, there were other ideas about cold flowers. It was cold in March when I started photography. That's the one thing. The other thing may be that I felt this period of social distancing also as a cold time, because people were afraid get in contact with others on the streets, where we were all in masks, and everyone was afraid getting in contact with people on the tram or in the Rinok and the market. So it was a time I felt a little bit coldness in our society, and that's maybe also might be a reason to call it, but the real reason is a really technical reason. The folder called Cold Flowers. So that's and I will keep that title for them, and that's the Elder Boss. So because I think it's like a brand. Right now.
Sounds nice. And how do you how do you separate the good photography from those that you put in the bin?
That needs time. I do not know that immediately. I need a couple of days, sometimes weeks. Sometimes I need more days, a couple of days, several days for editing one picture. Then I have maybe 3 different ones of the same flower, and I need to watch them and to observe them. And of course, then I post them on social media. I entered some groups of professional photographers as well on Facebook. There is a group of called Frames. It's an international magazine of photography, and they found my photographs as well and invited me. And now you will find some photographs also in Frames magazine. And I got a lot of advices and tips also there. And it was also helpful. So I used the social media also to communicate about my pictures. Yeah? But you need special groups of photographers because that does not work everywhere. And then, it needs time. I took more than, I think, thousands of flowers in the last 2 years, but I collected only 67 now for the homepage or for exhibitions. And my aim will be 100 to get the number of 100 flowers in finally. And then we will see, maybe there is an invitation now to present them in Kiev also. I will try to make them bigger. Now on Friday they will be in 40 centimeters squares, but I would be will be interesting in watching them in bigger.
Getting small bigger, small things bigger. Okay. And in general, like we can see, like from this project that you are interested in nature itself, but you have some other series that you are working on.
I started with another interesting project, and they come to me. I am not looking for them. I'm not searching for projects. They come to me. I've been walking with my family and with my 6-year-old son through in Krimska Street. I call it's Krimska Street. There is a small sanctuary for animals. There's a veterinary taking care from birds. So you find different animals. 2 llamas he has. So, but I will
open it. While you're talking here.
It was very interesting because since the pandemic, I always take my camera with me when I walk through the city center, and then I started photographing the birds. That's the bird cage, and it's also a project I work on, and it will be also a catalog maybe next year, I plan. And most of them I found in the sanctuary here in Lviv. Only that is from Drohobych. That is it. But the others are from Lviv, and it's the same idea. Birds nobody recognizes, very simple, to present the stars. A lot of them were injured and ill, I think, and I tried to make stars out of them, and I want to attract this work in this small sanctuary they do without funding, with very low salaries. I think they do very important work, and I think we should promote that. And that's maybe one way to do that in the future, because I think it's a really very important institution they have, and work they do also for children. They invite children for education there from schools. So I think we should focus also on that, how animals are treated here in Lviv, in our city. I think it's very important as well. And there is a second sanctuary in close to Snesinja Park with a lot of owls. They are from there. That's a wonderful birds, and they all sit in cages. They are all from cages. There is no wildlife photography here.
Yeah, but we don't see cages here.
No. But you see nothing terrible. You see only stars.
So in some way you are giving them the freedom.
I want to make them more prominent and.
So in this case, you are using photography as an instrument to speak. Of course.
No, similar as the flowers. Okay. There are some other pictures I did from, of course, the Boeing Chapel, like you know, the famous places, and then the wooden church in Drohobych, Jura George Cathedral. It's these wonderful paintings inside, but that wooden church. Yeah, that's also interesting. And then one place now in Austria I visited, Ipsaklam. It's also there are some photographs, and I want to show places. Especially from this region and Ukraine, to my friends in Austria, to make it more attractive to come here. They do not know anything about Ukraine and the western part of Ukraine, and I think that might be a way to open the eyes. And there is a success because there is a school of photography in Vienna, and they start to organize trips for photographers to Lviv in May, and they will come regularly twice a year with groups of Austrian photographers to Lviv and to the Carpathian Mountains from 2022. So I think that's also one result of my work right now. Yeah.
So for this project, you can tell that like looking on small things, it helps to see a bigger picture. Like when,
of course.
Because when you just see a shelter, for animals, you don't see like themselves there. Yeah, you just see a general picture that we have a bad situation there, but you can take one item from there and put it into another frame.
Yeah, that's the point, of course. And I want to make it more visible, things to make visible. I think that's what fine art photography also shall do, to make things more visible for the public, not only documentary.
Yeah. And okay, we can then spend a few words about your exhibition that will be conducted on Friday. Yeah, it will be opened on Friday at 4 p.m. in the Dim Franco. That's, for me, it was a big surprise to be being invited to this exhibition, and I like this place very much because it's very close to the parks I've been photographing, Strisky Park and Park Kulturi, and there is also space enough for we won't show the whole pictures from this catalog. There will be space for, I think, for 30 pictures framed in 40 centimeters, and it will last till the I think 13th. No, the end of October. 3 weeks, of course. They will be visible, and it will be open. You're welcome to join us there on Friday 4 p.m. and then maybe the next will be in Kiev, hopefully. I do not know where, but I will inform you also on my social media accounts. And can you tell where we can find the books? Yeah, the online version I told before. Yeah, the books, you will find the books here. You can buy it here. I think we will take 300 hryvnias for one book. I think it's a very low price. It's a normal price. Of course, not the price I paid for the producing the books, but 300 hryvnias. They are here this week. Later there will be 500. We agreed with Liana. And also in Dim Franco, in the Franco house, it will be 300 at the exhibition, at the opening. And hopefully now I have not, we produced only 100. So I think the next edition will be a little bit more higher, but I'm not sure if we will be ready in March. So maybe it will we work on that, with Oleg. It depends on him as well, because he's the manager. All right then, great work. Yeah, actually, thank you very much. Thank you again for inviting me. It was a surprise. Thank you for your time. Yeah, thank you for telling us a little bit more about your pictures. Hope to see you again here. And of course, please visit Andreas' website. And lots of very nice pictures are there. See you soon then. Yeah, we can continue. Yeah, if you have have any questions, we can continue like in this formal or more informal way to speak here.
But you can ask in Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Я дуже добре розумію по-українськи, но дуже погано розмовляю. I will answer in English, if possible.
Тоді я маю до вас питання. Чому саме квадрат?
Yeah. I thought it's the easiest for me. Yeah, in the beginning, and I kept this because I want to show them all in the same format. And in the beginning, I focused on the colors, and it was easier for me to set the frame similar at all. And I focused in my editing on the colors. Firstly, I thought maybe in the future I will change the format, because the birds are not in squares; they're only in squares here on the homepage. But if the flowers, really, they are all in squares, like icons in similar appearance. Yeah. It made the beginning easier for me, because I did not care about the format. That's also a difficult question. The starting was easier.
But it helped you to start?
It helped to start, yes, it helped to start.
Okay. Ще якісь питання, може, в когось є? Всі стидаються. Okay. So yeah, let's continue in informal way.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Дякую всім за зустріч. Дякую акцентру. Побачимося